everyone, this is Sasha bringing you a video tutorial today from BP4U. And today we're going to be picking right back up on going along with our contrast blend modes. So the first blend mode is overlay, and we can see that blend mode right here. And so overlay is one of those nice blend modes that you can use, especially on some of these kind of like mid-tone-ish colors. I like overlay because I can add my fill light here as well as, ooh, too strong. I can add in my fill tones as well as gain some contrast along the way. And of course, like all the rest of them, you can turn down the opacity and you can get a really nice effect from this. And I would be very happy with this as the only editing done to my photo. I really like that. So the next one is soft light. Soft light is my absolute most favorite blend mode out of every blend mode that there is. And so here is soft light, and we can pull that back up to 100%, and I can still be very happy with it. Soft light is just perfect. And I also love soft light on my duplicated background layer because I think it gives off a really nice boost of contrast, and you can see that it really takes that photo from blah to wow. And then we can use the soft light also in conjunction with the soft light blend mode. And again, you know, we can play with the opacity of both of those, so don't feel stuck or married to a blend mode at full opacity because you can always turn that down some and get less of that effect. Okay, so let's put this back on normal. We're going to click back up here, and our next blend mode that we're going to look at is hard light. And it's similar to overlay, but it's a little bit more intense. And so there's the hard light blend mode, and this is definitely one that I personally wouldn't use at full opacity. Right in here it looked good, wherever I was at just a second ago, and I'll probably never get back to it. I like that color, but again, I would still want to pull that down just a little bit, but I would also be extremely happy with this as well as the edit done to my photo. I really love that effect that we were able to achieve with that blend mode. The next one that we have here is vivid light, and it's similar to, let's click on it here. It's kind of similar to soft light in a way, except it's really, really intense, and it's kind of saturated here. And so you can definitely see that saturation as we click around, and you can definitely see how much more intense than the other blend mode that is. And I like that color here, but again, I would probably turn down the opacity to decrease some of that saturation. But again, I would absolutely adore this as the edit. The skin tones look absolutely wonderful. There's just an absolutely wonderful amount of contrast with that, and I really love that. Okay, so the next blend mode that we have is linear light, and it's kind of similar to the vivid light, but it's less saturated. And so here we can, again, we can choose our color. I like that one. And we can play with the opacity. See, right about half strength, I think that looks really good. And so again, I would be very pleased with that as my edit. So the next one that we have is pen light. And the results with the pen light can sometimes look kind of blotchy. Oops. With very few midtones in the picture. It's kind of very to the extreme. But if you move into that middle gray kind of color here, then you're not really going to see much of an effect. But as we start pulling away from that, you can start seeing that we can get some very creative and interesting effects from this blend mode. And so there we don't really have much of a change. And if we were to apply this pen light to our background layer, like a lot of these blend modes, it doesn't do anything. And that's just the way that the pixels are. Now hard mix is going to be a very interesting blend mode. And the reason for that is hard mix consists of 8 colors, which are red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, and white. Oops. And so you can see here with the hard mix, we're not getting any in-between colors. We're not getting anything other than those 8 standard colors. No blending involved. The closer that you come over here to this middle gray color, the more detail that you're going to see. And as we move further away from that, the less detail that we're going to see. And so here we've got quite a bit of detail, but we have a very cartoonish looking photograph when we use this hard mix. And of course you can lower the opacity, and you could get some, this could be a really creative effect if you were going for maybe like an oil painting look or something a little bit out of the norm. You could definitely use this to your advantage, so don't get scared away by the fact that it looks a little bit different than the other blend modes and say, oh, I'll never use that. Because maybe there might be that time when this would look really great for the photo that you are editing. So again, let's go ahead and pull that up. The next blend mode that we are going to be using is from the Inversion group, and so we're going to use Difference. Now, the reason why this is in the Inversion group is because it inverts colors, and it gives it that kind of negative effect to your photograph, but as we pull down closer to black, we start losing that effect. And so you can kind of play around here with different colors and by getting different effects. When you look at these colors though, you're going to notice that you're going to see the tone of the opposite effect. And so when I'm in green, I'm going to be seeing a lot of magenta, but when I click up here into the magenta colors, I see green. And so colors are opposite when you are looking at this color palette. And so if I want something kind of warm, then I'm going to want to go into the blue colors. And so you can see that how that kind of affects that. And so then we have exclusion, which is similar to Difference in the sense that you are still getting that negative effect. And when we pull down here, we're going to see less of the effect, but it's a little bit more hazy looking, and you do have a little bit more play with this. I think this would look really cool with the opacity turned down just a little bit. And so we could get some really neat effects just from playing with that. So from the next group, we have Hue. Now what makes Hue so fun is I can click around in here all I want to, and the photo is not going to change. But if I click around up here, then I'm going to start getting a different color on my photo. So everything is going to be within this hue. So it could be any one of these colors in this range out here. You can see that we're seeing some of that gray from over in here, and we're seeing some of that pink from over in here. And up here, we've got this gray from down here, and we could see white and we could see black. But it's all going to be within this square color palette here. And in order for me to change the color, clicking in here isn't going to work. I have to move this up or down to change that color palette. It's always going to be within this hue. And that's kind of what makes this really unique and really fun. So I kind of like that. It gives it a lot of depth as well by doing it that way. Now saturation, saturation is kind of something unique all on its own. If you come over to white or black, you are completely desaturating your photo. Middle gray is kind of desaturated, but if you pull off over here into the colors, then you are going to get some crazy amounts of saturation. And so it definitely gives a very different look to your photographs. Color is kind of like hue, only it's different because you're not getting the hue of that color, you're getting just that standard color. If I were to click around in here, you can see that my whole picture changes, and now I kind of have a picture that's kind of like a bubblegum pink. And if I come down here, it's going to be black and white. And so as I'm clicking around in here, you can see that I'm not stuck to, when I clicked around in here with the hue, my picture didn't change. But this is changing because it's just one color, and it gives the picture more of a flat look to it. But it also, if you wanted everything to be more of this color, then that might be what you are looking for. Luminosity is just, it's a bird of its own feather. Luminosity is just one of those blend modes that has a very, very unique look. So no matter where you click around in here, you're going to get that unique look. And so if we turn down the blend mode, you can see that you can get some more interesting looks. And obviously the farther up in the white that you get towards the white, the more dark, or the lighter it's going to get, and the closer to black that you move your colors to, the darker that your photo is. And so you can play around with your colors here, and you can pick something that maybe suits your needs. And again, you can play with the opacity. If you still thought that was too much, you could turn that down. Now we have a very hazy look to our picture. And so that might be one way that you would be able to use that. But with all of these blending modes, because there are so many different options with them, being able to play with the blend mode, being able to play with the color, being able to add it to your background, being able to add it to, a gradient, and so on and so forth. Just being able to play with all of that, you're really going to grab some unique looks, and the possibilities to all of it could go on for a very long time. And so it's just something where you can always be coming up with new and creative and fun edits just by playing around right here in these couple panels and not having any fancy tools to go with it. And so understanding the blend modes can definitely, as you can see, enhance your workflow, and it's definitely something to play around with and to keep in mind when you're editing. So thank you for watching this video tutorial. Happy editing!